Today, I've got good news for you from the Torah. Today is our fifth sermon in this series. It's called Tales from the Torah. And today is good news about trumpets. How many of you play the trumpet? Could I see your hands? Okay. 1.5 of you play the trumpet. The trumpet is a great instrument, and the Old Testament church, Israel, they played the trumpet. So we're going to talk about that today. It's really good news. It's kind of exciting. But first of all, I want to tell you about the Old Testament church. It was the church in the wilderness, it's called, in the New Testament. And there's a picture of it on the screen for you. Those of you who are on the internet, perhaps we can get that up on your screen as well. There is a picture of the Old Testament sanctuary. Now, to give you an idea of how large it was, if you can visualize a football field, cut it in half, and then shrink it a little bit more, and that's about how big it was. And that includes the courtyard. And the courtyard, as you can see here, had a fence all the way around it. And on this fence, there were curtains. And everything is outlined in detail in the Bible. There were sockets, and there were special woods and special curtains that were used to make this fence and to make all of the sanctuary. And in the foreground there, you can see there's the altar of burnt offerings, and that had special instructions exactly how it should be made. And then there was the laver that contained water for ceremonial washings, and that was out in the courtyard. And then we have the sanctuary itself, the holy place and the most holy place, and it had a covering of 4 tarps or 4 skins of animals, and each of those coverings has special meaning. We're not going to get into all of that today, but I just want to make you aware of the fact that it took an awful lot of effort to build this sanctuary, especially out in the desert. Now, I want you to see a little more closely here. You can see there's a cloud over the sanctuary. There's a cloud or a pillar of fire at night. And inside the sanctuary there, you can see there's a candlestick and an altar of incense, a table of showbread. There's the Ark of the Covenant. It had the 10 Commandments in it, and it had Aaron's rod that budded, and it also had manna and the coverings on the roof. And the priest is in the most holy place in this picture. And the priest had a robe, and on the robe, there were special items. There were precious stones on what was called the ephod, and there was a urim and a thummim, which he wore on his shoulders. And God would answer a prayer either yea or nay by sending a special light to rest on either the urim or the thummim. And at the bottom of his robe, which was made of fine linen, they had pomegranates that were made out of metal, and they served as bells, so that when the priest walked, you could hear the bells ringing. And what a joyous time when they celebrated the feast, and it was the Day of Atonement, and the priest went in before God once a year, and he was there before the ark and that had the 10 Commandments inside of it, and then it had the angels on top, and their wings touched. It's called the mercy seat. So he went in before God, and then he sprinkled the blood. And as he sprinkled the blood, he prayed, and he's transferring the sins of the people onto the Ark of the Covenant. And then when he walked out, the bells were ringing. And the congregation was assembled around him. And as he walked out and the bells were ringing, it was such a joyous sound. And when he came out, there was a thunderous celebration because he had not been struck dead. In other words, the sacrifice had been accepted. Isn't that good news? Well, all of that took special people. You had to have artists. You had to have people who were craftsmen. I noticed some of you were painters in the Fine Arts Fair today. I noticed some of that. I saw, again, Roger's woodworking. All kinds of talent was exhibited in the Fine Arts Fair. And it just reminded me of the sanctuary. And they brought all these people together, and each one of these people had a special gift. The women would sew, and they had special talents of weaving. And I saw Sally did what's it called, crocheting or knitting, and these wonderful, beautiful things that we were able to make today. Well, they made beautiful things back then, and we had all these different people that were coming together to do a special thing for God. And that's what Orange Coast Church, I think, was called in existence to do, was to bring a group of people that have special talents, and we bring our special talents together, and we do special things for God. Here is what the Bible says about what I just described. They brought all the materials needed for the tabernacle or the sanctuary. And again, this tabernacle or this sanctuary was, in many ways, was like a big tent. And they moved from place to place. And in fact, they had 42 different times that they camped. And in the book of Numbers, it tells you, they camped here, and then they packed up the camp, and they went here, and they packed up the camp, and they went there. And there are 42 locations. And I think that number 42 is significant. We won't get into it today, but just to sort of get you thinking about it, in the book of Revelation, it talks about 42 months. Or 1,260 days, as it says in another place. I think there's a relationship there. But they camped 42 different places. And this was a temporary worship facility. It was a temporary cathedral. And then, eventually, they built the temple in Jerusalem. And it was destroyed and rebuilt, and you know that story. But while they're wandering in the wilderness, they keep moving. And every time they move, they have to take down the sanctuary and then set it up again. So it says, as they brought the materials needed for the tabernacle, they're building it here for the first time. And it says they brought the materials needed not only for the tabernacle, but the performance of its rituals and for the sacred garments. Both men and women came. So they had all these animals to sacrifice. So you had to have people that had skill as a shepherd, for example, to take care of the animals. So again, the gifts were so needed. And then you had to have people that knew how to grow food, both for the people and the animals, to keep them alive for a period of time. Both men and women came. And then notice this. All who had silver and bronze objects gave them as a sacred offering. Those who had acacia wood brought it. All the women who were skilled in sewing and spinning prepared blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine linen cloth. So here you have a picture of those who had skill working with metals, skill working with woods, and skill working with fabrics. So they all came together and they made this sanctuary happen. They made the worship beautiful.